Even with injuries, mistakes, miscues, the 49ers still find a way to put it all together late and steal the win in Levi's Stadium. The 49ers beat the Cardinals in week 3, 16-15. All right. Welcome back to another episode of the Behind the Back podcast, 49ers post-game edition. Guys, the 49ers are 3-0. It's been an ugly 3-0, but nonetheless undefeated. And some big wins to start the season, and none as big as this one. Getting a massive win in a game where you have so many guys out, so many things going against you, an opportunity late that looked like this game could be just about wraps if you don't get a stop. I'm gonna break this all down for you guys, but guys, this was a game that the 49ers absolutely needed to win, and they did. So let's talk about the first half. In the first quarter specifically, it was ugly. Neither side really figuring out how to attack the other, and both teams really kind of just figuring each other out for how the game plan was going to be played out. And early on, the Cardinals miss a field goal, and Niners get the ball back. They go 3 and out. Mac misses Pearsall in a deep shot. So another 3 and out, similar to last week against the Saints. As the first quarter continues, Kyler Murray's legs are already being an issue and proving problematic for this 49ers defense. Marcos and I talked about this being a potential issue for this team, for the 49ers, as it has been before. And this was one of the keys to winning this game. You wanted to see the 49ers come out and assert some dominance as far as controlling Kyler Murray on those runs. And in the first quarter especially, he was keeping them on the field and keeping drives alive for them. As the first quarter goes on, Nick Bosa goes down with a right knee injury. Now, this injury is something we need to keep an eye on as this week progresses, and I think he's going to get some scans done probably tomorrow. We might have news tomorrow. If not, we'll have news Tuesday. So we'll see when and what this news looks like. But it didn't look good. Bosa went down. He looked up in the stands for his parents, found his parents, gave him a thumbs down, and left the game early, never returned. He was questionable up until halftime, never came back where he was ruled out. So that was concerning early on, knowing you have, one of the prolific edge rushers in the NFL, someone who's extremely important to your scheme, to your process, to this defensive line, go out so early. Now you have to figure out how to cover up that hole. And I thought Michael Williams stepped up really well. I thought that Bryce Huff made some plays. So there was opportunity here for both ends of this to go, a different direction. You could have had that go really poorly, where your defensive line is then attacked on that side every single time, and it proves problematic for you. Or you can hold your own, get through this game, and then figure out the scheme going into next week. And I thought that the hole that they plugged with Bosa it worked out very well for the 49ers. So moving into the second quarter, first quarter was a nothing bomb. It was 0-0 on both sides. But the Cardinals were definitely controlling the pace of this game. I think the 49ers were struggling very early on to get anything going offensively. The Cardinals were doing a good job at bringing pressure from that defensive line that we talked about as well last week. They were pressuring Mac Jones, forcing him to, get out of the pocket, which is something he doesn't do very well. He got sacked early on. His jersey was ripped. I mean, he was torn up early. So then you move into the second quarter. You've got D. Winters and Fred Warner breaking up passes, one short, one long. Cardinals get multiple third down conversions. They end up getting a field goal. The Niners do well to tighten up. They force a field goal on something that should have been a touchdown, I think, as the Cardinals were pushing at that point. They did really well late on that drive to hold the Cardinals to 3. So forcing them on 3 points there was huge. Right after that, the 49ers respond with a really promising drive through the air, but they failed to convert in the red zone. And that became a thing as this game went on. There was another trip, at least one more, where they ended up in the red zone and they couldn't convert. And I'll talk about that here in a minute. So halftime rolls around and the 49ers are up 63. You get the ball back at halftime, the 49ers do. So you felt like the 49ers kind of started to find a rhythm, just needed to tighten some things up. So at halftime, I'm thinking, Kyler is frustrating the 49ers with his legs as usual. Kyler was keeping drives alive and ends the half leading all rushers with 23 yards on 3 carries, and all of it on scramble drills. The Niners were struggling to find that rhythm offensively until late, so you're hoping you can carry that into the second half and even build upon it and get even more rhythm. There were some missed opportunities, especially on like a Ricky Pearsall deep ball. Ton just had an easy first down that wasn't a conversion. CMC route was a miscue, so there was just some things that you got to kind of tighten up on. And if you can tighten those up, clean them up, you're going to find yourself converting first downs and keeping drives alive and getting this possession back. The Cardinals at that point were dominating the clock in possession. They had a 21 to 8 minute advantage in the first half. And that's something that isn't usual for the 49ers. Typically, you see that the other way around. You see this slower, methodical style offense where the 49ers are pounding out third downs early on in games, and they're controlling the possession and the flow of this game. That was flipped. That script was completely flipped. So the fact that the 49ers not only had a chance, but they had a lead going into the second half was massive. But both teams struggling to run the ball. Arizona had 41 rushing yards total. The Niners had 9 rushing yards total. And that 9 yards was only really gained at the end of the first half. Before that, right before the last drive, the 49ers had -1 rushing yards, which is crazy to me, especially when you have Christian McCaffrey. But at the same time, the Arizona Cardinals in this game in its entirety were selling out to stop the run. They were forcing Mac Jones and that wide receiver group, who hasn't played a ton together, to make plays and go out and beat this team. So the Niners take that late lead in the first half on a 51-yard field goal from Eddie Piñeiro. And it was a refreshing thing to see your kicker actually knock down a kick and put points on the board when you have drives that, whether they fizzle out or not, you're in a position to put points up. And for the special teams unit to really pull that through in the first half was massive. So moving on to the second half. This game really flipped for the Cardinals early on in the third when James Conner goes down with a pretty bad knee injury. And he was carted off the field. So prayers to James Conner. Hopefully he's okay. Hopefully that injury isn't as bad as it kind of seems like it could be. He was carted off. And for the rest of that game, the Cardinals struggled to move the ball on the ground. But early on, right after the injury, Benson had a big run for the Cardinals. And then DeMercado dropped what could have been a touchdown at the end of their drive. And that forced a field goal for the Cardinals. The Niners go down the field, big completions to Ricky. And I'm sitting here and I'm watching this game. And this is the response drive from that field goal. And as this drive is starting, I'm like, Ricky Pearsall looks like he's getting open more often than not. It doesn't look like he's getting locked up, strapped up, none of that. It just looks like we haven't found him on a lot of these opportunities. And so I'm sitting here with my girlfriend, we're watching the game, and I look over at her and I'm like, we need to really involve Ricky Pearsall. This is like something that needs to happen if they want a shot, not just right now, but in this game. So the 49ers go down the field with big completions to Ricky Pearsall, at least 3 of them. And they get all the way into the red zone, and even then it looks promising. They're handing the ball off to Christian McCaffrey, who's just running into brick wall every time, but he's getting small amounts of yards, so there's movement there on the ground, but you just want to see one of these break through. And Mac Jones ends up taking a little bit of a shot, and he actually hurts his knee, which is the same knee that was injured in the preseason during one of those preseason games. And so he comes up limping, and you're like, well, shoot, are we going to have to rely on our third string quarterback to pull through? This feels very much NFC Championship of 2021 all over. But they get one more play with Mac Jones out there, and Mac rolling back out of on his back foot, throws this ball to Christian McCaffrey. It's not a great ball. It's behind Christian. Christian gets blown up by Wilson Sr. It was ugly. I don't want to see Christian McCaffrey taking shots like that on hospital balls, especially when you have as many injuries as you do. So that was ugly, and you came away with no points. So it's a big missed opportunity. So at that point, it's a tie ball game. Cardinals now have the momentum, and you feel like something's got to shift and something's got to break through if you want a chance at winning this game. And this is when the fourth quarter begins. The Niners force a near safety on intentional grounding. And I mean, that thing is a near safety as it gets. So the rule is everything has to be, or the ball has to be behind the end zone, in the end zone when he's thrown for it to be a safety. I think full body and everything. His full body was back there, but his arm and the ball were outside of the end zone. They were, on the half-yard line. So because of that, it wasn't a safety, but it was intentional grounding, which was nonetheless a good stop. So they ended up, you forced a punt there. Then the shot, and I'm talking the Mac Jones to Ricky Pearsall for a huge completion down the field. Mac runs the boot after that to Kyle Juszczyk for a 6, and that was the perfect response to that. I thought able to get the 6 points there was something that you absolutely needed to get, and it was something that you feel should be the game changer. Well, the Cardinals respond with a touchdown to tie right after that. And earlier on in the game, the play that broke free for the Cardinals, or should have broken free rather, was a play that Marvin Harrison Jr. was wide open, totally bad coverage, and a missed assignment. Harrison's wide open, he just drops the ball, and he could have gotten yards on yards after catch for that. They run the exact same play, same result, except he makes the catch this time. And there is nobody around him. So you're looking at blown coverage, you're looking at miscues, like there is certain things going on during this game, and especially right here at this point, that's like, you guys got to tighten this up if you want any chance to win. After that, Mac Jones throws an interception, and that's 5 minutes left in the game. He telegraphed his pass to Ricky Pearsall. Safety stepped in, cut it off. It was a great play. It's not a good ball. This is a crucial time in the ball game. You really didn't need an interception at this point. And the Niners are able to get a crucial stop. And Fred Warner is incredible. I mean, I talk about this way too often, but at the same time, you got to appreciate the kind of things he does. He comes all the way up on a blitz attempt, gets stopped at the line of scrimmage. Kyler throws the ball, and Fred jumps up in the air and almost picks off this ball. I'm just shocked at the athleticism of this guy and just the incredible nature and everything that he's able to provide. So Fred Warner makes a massive play. 49ers get the ball back. But here's what's frustrating. Sky Moore takes a fair catch on our 5-yard line. I didn't think you needed to take a fair catch there. You could have let it roll into the end zone. You could have caught it and then tried to get some yards, but he planted us in the 5-yard, which sucks. Very first play, Dom Puny is called for a hold in the end zone, which forces the safety. Cardinals take the lead and they get the ball back. It's 15-13 at this point. And it just doesn't look good. That's, the Cardinals at this point only need a couple first downs in his game. And it's frustrating because you see a couple drives, in the fourth quarter late that just completely wrong things happen. Well, on a play that the Cardinals absolutely needed to get coming out of this 2-minute warning with the 49ers only having one timeout left, rookie Upton Stout makes an enormous pass breakup and it forces the punt. I mean, it was as timely as can be, and Mac Jones goes down the field orchestrating a beautiful late game drive after all the interception, after all the miscues, the frustrating nature of how this game, the knee injury, he's got a bum knee at this point, he's got a knee brace. He orchestrates this beautiful late game drive from R20 to put him on in field goal range, and Eddie Pinedo knocks down the game winner. So this was an ugly game, right? I go through everything that just happened, and you're thinking, like, this is not pretty, this didn't look pretty, but you got the win. And this has absolutely been the story for the 49ers this season. You've seen so many times the 49ers win these ugly games this season, and it's building character, it's building this identity for the 49ers that was so missed last year. That was something that you didn't see. And games like this, games like last week against the New Orleans Saints, you saw the 49ers lose those games last year. So I love what I saw from all three levels, the offense, the defense, special teams, late in this game. I thought stepping up after miscues, mistakes, whatever you want to call it, stepping up when the moments mattered the most and making those plays and finding a way to get a gritty win was absolutely something that, you really needed to have. So let's hand out some game balls here. First game ball is going to go to Ricky Pearsall. Rick is budding. This is simply put. He is budding right before our eyes into what can be an early star in his early career. He cooked the Cardinals secondary today. And he was so problematic on his routes. He was in the perfect spots so many times. A couple different miscues, but he really hasn't had much time on the field with Mac Jones. And even with Mac Jones today, he was able to get 8 catches for 117 yards and 14 yards per catch. So Ricky, right before our eyes, is turning into the player that you needed him to be. And when we drafted him 2 years ago, I told you in that time, if you remember, and if you were around with us at that time, I'd said, like, I can absolutely see him being the Debo or Brandon replacement and moving forward. And especially like replacing a guy like Debo when you needed that separation, you needed somebody who's an elite route runner. He has that in him, and he's stepping up and he's making these plays now. So Ricky Pearsall is getting my number one ball. Just an awesome game, stepped up in big moments, had some massive plays, that bomb from Mac Jones, every part of it. It's just really solid game from Rick. Second game ball is going to go to Fred Warner. Dude is a menace. I mean, at this point, what can't he do? He was making plays all day long. He snuffed the run game multiple times. He had some massive coverages downfield. Big play late in the fourth, like I said, at the line of scrimmage, almost getting a interception at the line. Like, he is absolutely the heart and soul of the defense. There's not a doubt in my mind. He leads this group every single week to be as great as they can be. And just stepping up in a game like this when you need him most. What I got from Fred in this one, can't overlook. Last game ball is going to go to Eddie Dinero Pinheiro. Dude, it is so refreshing to trust your kicker to actually do his job. Jake who? No longer. Game winner, 100% from the field today. Squeak him in or not, you didn't miss. And showing up at timely moments in these last 2 weeks, proving that you're absolutely somebody that the 49ers should have as part of this special teams unit. He said it after the game. He knows if he misses a kick, a crucial kick, that he could absolutely be cut from this team. So he knows that the 49ers have struggled with these field goals before. He knows that this is a pain point, not just for the organization, but for the fan base as well. He feels the pressure, but he's stepping up, and he's doing his job very, very well. I'm going to credit him in this one by giving him my game ball. So, I have so many honorable mentions, but again, these game balls, I gave them to offensive lines and defensive lines the last few weeks. I want to dial it in a little bit more. I want to get a little more personal and give them to the players. And these 3 guys stepping up in their positions today and being, making these timely plays, stepping up and having these big moments that really push the 49ers to a victory. Now let's talk real quickly before I get to my final thoughts about the injuries. So obviously, like I said, Nick Bosa, we'll hear a little bit more as it goes, as this week goes, what his availability looks like, if there's a timetable for his return. Michael Williams did go to the locker room early in the game for a wrist injury. He did come back out. I believe it was taped up if I saw correctly. So we'll see what that looks like. But again, he finished the game. He was still making plays out there. So I think he's going to be okay. He might be limited as practice this week as it goes, just to make sure he's good to go. Brock Purdy, we're hearing good things. He's progressing well. The AC sprain in his left shoulder and the turf toe are the things that are keeping him sidelined right now. And it's really only that turf toe. So again, as this week goes, we'll learn a little bit more about his availability, what it's looking like going into Sunday against the Jaguars. Juwan Jennings was out in this game, but I think he will be back next week as well. So we're starting to get these guys back. And aside from injuries, you get DeMarcus Robinson back from his suspension this week. So you're getting some of your depth while you're losing these guys like a Nick Bosa to these injuries. At the same time, you have this, there's a hole with a light at the end of the tunnel, and we're progressing towards it. And it looks bright right now because we're 3-0. Along the way, you've ran into all these different obstacles. You've ran into 3 teams that had opportunities to beat you, but you stepped up, made plays when it matters, and got yourself a win. So moving into my final thoughts here, like I said, offense, defense, and special teams, they all stepped up late to win this game for the 49ers. With all these injuries the 49ers are facing to starters and to just the depth of this team, they're continuously finding ways to win this game. These are 3 wins that could have absolutely been losses and would have been losses last season. The next man up mentality on this team right now is thriving. Defense stepped up, even with Bosa out. They held the Cardinals to 13 points. Tough to get the Cards off the field with Bosa out of the game, but they did tighten up when they needed to. I was really pleased with the defense. Vets made plays today. Vets really stepped up. You had Fred Warner making plays. Deommodore Lenoir was great in coverage. Had some awesome plays. Mac Jones, great game. Christian McCaffrey, 140 all-purpose yards. Kyle Juszczyk with a timely touchdown on the boot. Like, vets stepping up in big roles, coming out and just proving every reason why they're a vital part of this 49ers team. Upton Stout, great in coverage today. Rookie. You're getting these young, productive games, even still with all these injuries and everything going on. So this is a big win. And 49ers fans, I think we should be pleased, honestly excited about this, because like I said, to be 3-0 right now with everything, your back's against the wall, these injuries, with all these guys stepping up, we're so unfamiliar with each other. You're finding ways to win. The 49ers are finding these ways to eke out these wins. So through week 3, the 49ers run the NFC West, and that feels so good to say. Today with the Eagles beating the Rams, shout out to the Eagles. That was a heck of a comeback. But it's just what they do, right? You really can't count the Eagles out of it at any point. So this is an exciting time for the 49ers as they continue to kind of develop here. But to be 3-0, fantastic start to the season. We're looking forward to next week against the Jaguars, staying at home back in Levi's, staying there, and we're going to see how that goes. So stay tuned this week on Thursday. Marcos and I are going to break that game down. We're going to talk about the Eagles and their matchup, and I'll get some of the kind of Marcos's reaction on this game as well. So as always, I've been Benny the Jet Retz. I appreciate you guys. You can hit us up at behindthebackpod13@gmail.com. Hit us up on any of our socials, links down below. Guys, we're 3-0. 49ers fans, this feels good. This is a great start to the season. Everything going against you, and you find ways to win. Can't really be too mad at that. So stay tuned, guys. We'll talk to you next week. Peace.